retired. I love Asheville, but for a lot of reasons, but one of the final reason was, wow, I can't see myself getting up every morning and having to tackle these hills. So I came to Charleston, nice, flat, beautiful, whatever. And the first race I ever ran in Charleston back in 2013 was the James Island Connector, which has four, pretty nice little hill.
10.
So that's crazy. We train on the flats all the time, and all of a sudden we run the bridge, we run the connectors, and it's like, oh, wow. Well, of course, then you learn that you have the bridges, and I love the connector to train on, by the way. You have all of those things that you can train on, and they are good. I live in Dunes West. We have, on Park West Boulevard, we have 60 acres of recreational stuff with a beautiful, beautiful track with a man-made hill, grass hill, all right? This is what I call hill training. It takes you anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds to get to the top of it, all out, right? You just start with 2, and you build yourself till you can do 20, and you just keep that. And that's a workout in and of itself right there. That's one kind of hill workout. Another kind of hill workout would be typical of the bridge, and it's beautiful, really. You have 2 different types of workouts on the bridge if all you did is run the bridge. And that's a steeper one, 4.63 grade, and a less steeper one, 2.3, I think it is, coming back. So you have a 1.5 mile chance to run uphill, and it's important that you learn how to run uphill, or why you're running these things, all right? So, same thing going up. Then, of course, we can do other work, which is 2 lampposts, jog. Sometimes you go down. There's all kinds of things you can do. And, of course, there is this group that does, they go from one garage to another in downtown after the glass is swept up, you know. So they go and they run these garages, right? They do one up, and then they go to the next garage, and they go run up. You know, so that's another type of workout. But in the real world that I know, when I was coaching my superstar, we used to do 2 types of hill work: sprints and kind of intervals, really, 200 meter at a time, and things like that. Those are great for form. They're great, just workouts, period. You're always going to get a good workout. But they're great for form, and form is so important, all right? They're great for strengthening things that need to be strengthened that we ignore. Hips, glutes, all right, hamstrings, posterior chain. Hills are great for that. They're great for the form, they're great for posture and everything. If they're done correctly, and usually that means they need to be supervised. All right, so to be continuing on that. So hills aren't as simple as they are, and there's one part of hills that I left out, which is, to me, really the most important. Anybody run Boston here, or going to run Boston, right? Several of us. I know. Come on, raise your hand. Boston, nobody knows this. They all know Heartbreak Hill, which is a laugh, by the way. Not for here, but from where I come from in New York, Heartbreak Hill is a joke. It's not a hill. But it comes to 20 miles, and that's what everyone thinks of. No, the real hard part of Boston is the first 8.5 miles of Boston. Downhill. Some little rolling hills, but it's downhill. From Hopkinton to Natick is downhill. By the time you get to Newton, your quads are shot unless you've run those downhills correctly. How do you run it correctly? You practice, all right? That's the only way. So you need to run downhill. That absolutely needs supervision. And when it comes to me supervising you, I happen to be the world's greatest downhill runner ever, of all time, all right? Anybody know who the chairman of the boards is?
You.
Who?
You.
No, Eamon Coghlan, all right? He's called the chairman of the boards, Irish from Ireland. He ran the first sub 350 mile indoors as the chairman of the board. Never won an Olympic medal because he had a certain kind of sort of body and gait and mechanics that was perfect for running the boards, which is Madison Square Garden, which I used to run as well. So he was known as the chairman of the board. He won like 10 Millrose game miles in a row, and so on and so forth. My point is, he had a perfect body for Madison Square Garden and any indoor run. I have the perfect something, I don't know what, for running downhill. If you knew me in those days, people always said, don't let Ray be near you. When it comes to the downhill, you will beat dust. So I know how to run downhill, and it's not easy. It's tricky. It's not as natural as you think it is. So the hills is a very good point. Then we get to track. I think I just came from the track. We're just there since 4 o'clock with a couple of our runners. Very interesting. I like it a lot. I think it's great. I cut my teeth on the track as a high school student. As a coach, it's very good because I can see a lot of what's going on, and I can concoct a lot of different workouts. Generally, it's meant for intervals, speed work, maybe some tempo runs that are longer intervals. But they're all usually in 400-meter segments, 1 lap and so on and so forth. The one here, I know, is supposed to be redone. They're going to put a new one in, but they've been saying that for years. It hasn't happened. The one by me is beautiful. It's unbelievably beautiful. It has a steeplechase water jump in it that's covered, which you don't see often either. So it's a fantastic track, all weather and so on and so forth. So track work is important. I'm going to get into why in a minute. And then there's tempo runs, my favorite. Tempo runs enable you, when you're ready, to, tempo runs are, what do we call them? Comfortably hard, right? Comfortably hard. So they're faster. You might be able to have a sentence with someone else in there, but they're comfortably hard. You come away feeling okay, you can do this, on and on. What they do is they basically improve your stamina to sustain the speed that you're building, right? You have your endurance, you have your speed, and the tempo runs teach you and develop you so that you can maintain whatever the given pace is over a given distance or time, all right? So that's what tempo runs are. Those are basic runs. They fall into sort of 4 categories: aerobic conditioning and anaerobic conditioning. So I like to call it the world of anaerobia. What is aerobic? Anybody know?
Without oxygen.
Say again?
Without?
No, aerobic.
Oh,
Aerobic is with oxygen. You're never working without oxygen. And a lot of that has to do with, you can tell by the way you're breathing. Anaerobic is when you are working without oxygen, right? So you need to condition that, and then you need to develop your capacity for both of those, right? Different workouts for each of those, all right? Then we get into the elements of a training cycle. Okay, time is up.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So this doesn't always happen, and it should happen in a cycle, especially if the cycle is less than, more than a week. So you want to, when you fit enough, when you're ready, you want a weekly, the longest run, no problem. You want to sprinkle it with easy runs. You want a tempo run, that usually is a progressive run, right? You want to throw in some short intervals, and you want to throw in some recovery runs, all right? So this is the way I put programs together, based on all of that, based on individual needs and so on and so forth. So I'm going to skip ahead. Okay, I defined anaerobic and all of that. Any questions in 4 minutes about what I just said? Not what else is going on. But, so if there's no questions, and there are, and when you publish my number and email,
Okay.
Feel free, all right? I'll definitely get back to you. I love questions and answers. I love that. I learn.
He'll answer you at 3 in the morning, though. That's the trick. You'll answer at 3 in the morning.
True.
Yeah, I will, yeah. You wait.
I told Ray, tonight just give everybody an appetizer of Ray, because Ray is a full course, beautiful French meal with a nice bottle of wine. But tonight, I wanted him just to give you a little taste of what you encounter when you work with Ray and with Bryant, which you'll work a lot with Bryant when you're out running. He's just a ton of fun, and he's going to keep you in check. So I hate to cut you short, but I know people want to get their run in as well. So thank you so much, Ray.
You're welcome. So what we want to do is get organized outside. Normally, we would do some dynamic stretching. I think we'll pass that up today, I think, unless you want to put the whole group out there and do that.
On the sidewalk?
Right.
Just get
That's fine.
warmed up.
These are dynamic stretching. There's two kinds of stretching that I like people to use. One is called dynamic stretching. Each of them, by the way, have 100, 200 types of things you can do. But obviously, you just sort of limit yourself to a rule. Cinch usually leads our dynamic stretches. So that's what you want before you go on your run, to wake up and activate the muscles you're going to use while you're running, or some of those muscles. It used to be static stretching. That's bad. That actually, I don't want to get too technical on you, but it stretches out muscles that you don't want stretched out. Static stretching is good post-run. In fact, it's mandatory post-run, so that you don't build up an accumulation of tightness and stiffness. I love post-run stretching. It is my 5 to 10 minutes of heaven. All right? But that's my time. That's the only time. Those 10 minutes, I just love it. But you have to be consistent with it. Otherwise, you're just going to, because running is one direction, and you just get tighter and tighter and tighter, and you need to counter that. You need to balance that. So, Cinch, do you want to lead the general?
Take everyone outside.
Yep, and then Brian will give the...
Then what we'll do as a group, we'll start as a group, and we'll simply we'll follow Brian. I think you're going into the village?
No, yeah, we're going to go Fairmont to McCants to Pitt Street, and then people turn around at their 15-minute point, whatever that is.
And we'll go at a very comfortable conversational pace of about
take your key.
Yeah, I got my key.
Okay, good.
15 minutes one way, 15 minutes the other way. What does that mean? It should mean we all finish together.
If you have stuff you want to leave here, you can, because I'm going to...
In other words, the people who are not running as fast as the other people in front of them, they're not going to that spot. They're turning around at 15 minutes, and they're waiting for the other people to catch up to them. All right? See? So it's just a 15 minutes and 15
Maybe we'll
minutes.
stagger the start a little bit.
Right. And I will trail everyone and just...
Let's go inside.
Thank you, Ray.
Very well.
Thank you, Rick.
Oh, social distance.